Hey drivers, welcome to week 41 of Six Figure Trucking, where we watch the midlife trucker, that's me, Tom Bell, your friendly neighborhood former executive turned steering wheel holder, work his way toward that magical six-figure mark as a company driver. Now, before anyone jumps in the comments with, Noah, there's no way a company driver can make six figures. Hang tight, that's kind of the point of this whole series. Week after week, paycheck after paycheck, I'm showing you what's possible when you pair a solid carrier with good old-fashioned management skills. Not luck, not magic. Management. Because out here, we don't manage spreadsheets anymore. We manage shippers, receivers, dispatchers, 5 different clocks, and the most important one of all, ourselves. So let's start with last week, my best week of the entire year. $3,602. Yeah, you heard that right. I had to adjust the axis on my chart just to fit the bar on there. When you start messing up your Excel scaling, that's when you know you're doing something right. Now, before you start thinking this is a fairy tale, here comes the reality check. This week's number, $1,684. That's right. From $3,600 to $1,600 in 1 week. But don't panic. I didn't hit a wall or get stuck in Atlanta traffic for 5 days. Although, let's be honest, both are possible. I was on home time. That's right, I didn't even start my work week until Wednesday. But the point of this series isn't about chasing highs or crying over lows. It's about averages. Because averages tell the truth. They're not emotional. They don't care about your excuses, your bad week, or your viral TikTok. They just say, here's what you're really making. So this week, I want to talk about home time, that magical unicorn of trucking where every driver swears their carrier doesn't give them enough, and every dispatcher swears you already had it. There are 3 things about home time that really matter. 1, negative settlements. 2, timing. 3, location. Let's start with the first one, negative settlements. When you're a company driver like me, you don't have to worry about lease payments, maintenance accounts, bobtail insurance, or those mysterious escrow deductions that lease operators whisper about like they're part of a secret society. When I take home time, my paycheck might be smaller, but it's still a paycheck. I'm not starting the next week $800 in the hole because I dared to have dinner with my wife or mow the lawn. I'm not saying lease operators can't be successful, but you better love paperwork, risk, and praying your truck doesn't need an alternator when you have a Disney World vacation planned. Now this part is all about logistics, something we truckers are great at planning, until it involves our own lives. We all have to take that mandatory 34-hour reset. The trick is lining up that reset with your home time. Regional drivers tend to do this best. They bang out 5 solid days on the road, get their 48 hours off, and still pull in strong numbers. If you can plan that 34 to land at home, you're maximizing both your hours and your happiness. If not, you're probably spending your reset in a parking lot in Tucumcari, wondering where your life went wrong. Where you live makes all the difference. Every carrier has a hiring map, but within that map, there are sweet spots and dead zones. You live near a major interstate where your company runs heavy freight? You're golden. You'll roll past your house all the time. You live in rural Kansas working for a carrier that runs the East Coast? Well, my friend, you'll see the hacienda about as often as Bigfoot. That's why I always tell drivers, when you're picking a carrier, don't just look at the CPM, look at where they run. It's the difference between waving to your house every week or watching your grass turn into a prairie ecosystem. So yeah, $1,684 for a short week, but that's fine. Because the key to long-term success isn't about any 1 week. It's about managing your business, even as a company driver, like it is a business. Knowing when to run, when to rest, and when to go home so your wife doesn't change the locks. Let's get into this week's numbers. First, we'll talk about my logs for the week. I was paid for 1,578 dispatched miles. I had 2,078 logged miles. The days in green I was on home time continued from last week. Let's look at my unedited pay statement for period 42 of 2025. This includes all trips from October 5th to October 11th. Empty miles paid $74. Securement paid $99. Hazmat miles paid $25. The quarterly safety bonus paid $393. Loaded miles paid $943, and stops paid $150. Total earnings for this week was $1,684. 42 weeks into the year, my gross income is $94,779, and my total miles is 120,001. That averages out to $2,257 per week and 2,857 miles. Estimated out over 52 weeks, my estimated annual is $117,346. Year-to-date numbers as of week 42 of 2025. I've been paid for 120,001 miles, covering 34 states, making 289 stops. 93% of those miles have been loaded, averaging 79.0 cents per mile. Here's the home time that I've taken this payroll year through the end of the 42nd week. I have been on home time 22 times so far, totaling 63.5 days. I also have 5 overnight breaks at the house and 19 paid 34-hour resets on the road. I am not paid hourly, but let's calculate like an hourly job. For the week, my gross pay was $1,684 for 44 hours of work. If we break it down into a typical hourly job, it could be 40 regular hours and 4 hours of overtime, resulting in an effective pay rate of $36.99 per hour. For the year, my gross pay so far is $94,779 for 2,422 hours of work. If we break it down into a typical hourly job, it could be 1,645 regular hours and 778 hours of overtime, resulting in an effective pay rate of $33.71 per hour. Taking a look at the if-only truck drivers were paid for every hour in the truck calculation page, 42 weeks have gone by so far that totals 7,056 hours. I have been at home 1,524 of those hours. That works out to 5,532 hours from the pre-trip leaving home to the post-trip returning home. My compensation through week 42 is $94,779. That works out to $17.13 per hour away from home. So here's the big question for this week. How much home time should an OTR driver expect? I mean, what's the magic number? 60 days home a year? 80 days? 100 days? There's no one-size-fits-all answer. But here's how I look at it. You've got to find that balance where you're still making money, but not losing the people or the peace you're working for in the first place. You can chase miles all year long, but if you come home and your dog barks at you like a stranger, maybe it's time to rethink your calendar. The best carrier isn't just the one that pays the most, it's the one that gets you home enough to remember why you're doing this job in the first place. So think about that. What's your number? How many days a year would make you feel like you've got a good work-life balance? Drop it in the comments below. I genuinely want to hear it. And as always, make sure that you are enjoying every day at work.